Our Zo ancestors, Bilepu, conquerors of the lands they roamed, not for luxury nor fame, but rivers and mountains to call home. Our story begins with rice, the only staple that could satiate our Zo palate. For generations, our ancestors would acclimate to greener hills and clearer waters, but the legend goes, their affection for rice has an origin story that not everybody knows. Once upon a time, a ruler named Vanchika gave two choices of rice. The first, Bokirirum, perfect, refined, and precise. But the second, Butsangrum, tougher, paired with side dishes, the tsokme. Did our forefathers choose the latter for greater freedom? You bet. This encapsulates the dichotomy of Mizo food gastronomy, as Mizos chose the plainer rice they knew that they would have to be culinary wizards who would make tsokme dishes out of thin air, all the more incredible as ingredients then were so rare. So what did this do? It pushed the Zo people along to make Bu the star of the show and tsokme its harmonious song. Bu, rice, it is the gift that keeps on giving, from Changban to Zotlang, as parting gifts from the living for their loved ones who had left this world, or as taxes to the village chief. Yes, rice was a blessing to many and every man's relief. Jum cultivation was and still is the way we Mizo grow our crops. Our ancestors slashed and burned their way across the forests they came to adopt. They cut and dried the vegetation, hillsides became a sea of fire, labor harsh, unbelievably harsh, but their vision was simply higher. Village elders and chiefs would delegate, the community would reciprocate, their persistence rewarded with subsistence, their harvests worth the wait. For 7 to 10 years they farmed, then moved on to the next mountain range, growing vegetables as wild as they were, some for gifts, some for exchange. They had soybean, tubers, maize, millet, and leaves from countless plants, domestic animals destined for the dinner table or sacrificial chants. Now, when it came to meats, they had chicken, fish, pig, dog, mithun, and goat, but they were few and far between because of the environment, one can note. Difficult it was to procure these domesticated beasts, but the rarity allowed the Mizo to master culinary technique. By smoking and grilling, our ancestors could preserve and elongate the precious food stock they had as a way to circumvent fate. All of a sudden, items like voksarep added color to their plate. The smoky, natural flavors would inspire them to create sotiar daltum marzarot and the much-loved rice beer zoo. And that last one, telling its little-known history, is well past due. Though today Mizoram is an alcohol-free state, long ago rice beer shaped what they drank and what they ate. Zufang, Zupui, Rakzu, just a few of the brews held dear, and to honor a guest they'd offer a nopui, a custom most revered. Carved from the horn of a bison, the design of it changed from place to place. Zu meant community, Zu meant culture. It was their blessing and their grace. Zu passed in circles, kaleate they'd say. Letting a friend drink first was the highest honor they could pay. Tea would later overtake rice beer's cherished role, but in post-Christianity Zoram, Zu had no virtue left to extol. Now the structure of Mizo meals remains largely untouched. 3 methods, simple in process, yet valued much. First comes tlak, boiling vegetables to serve as a palate cleanser against the many flavors of dishes whose textures are just denser. Second comes bol, veg or meat dishes that are pounded and mixed with critical seasonings so as to leave the diner confounded. Third is the all-important bai, perhaps the most essential of all. From mustard leaves to bamboo shoots, seasonal bounty answers the call. For seasoning, our bipute crafted clever culinary designs sa fermented lard, tingal, ash water brine. Marzarot with bird's eye chili, bikang from fermented soybean. It sustained them from the home to the field and everywhere in between. Now food in ancient Zoram was pivotal in special occasions too. Setun, Huangzoi, Zongjian, and more, where feast upon feast was due. The chiefs and Tangtuapa lay out a huge spread for everyone. Food was more than sustenance, it wove stories to be spun. Our ancestors believed food was meant for well beyond the grave. During Mimkut, they would save their dearly departed a space, leaving steamed vegetables called taitia on a plate at the table, and for babies that had gone too soon, they gave boiled eggs to cradle. To help them find their way to Piadral, the paradise of rest and light, where food and beer flowed abundantly, weary souls were free from plight. Everything changed when the British came, when food suddenly became a weapon. They'd use food as a way to subjugate our Zo people into submission. Fields of rice were burnt down as a means of intimidation and control. Our ancestors were punished for resistance, often saying yes when they really meant no. And when many of them did resist, they were determined to adapt and improvise. They'd secrete away their goods in underground pits, away from colonial eyes. Excavated chambers deep in the earth, they'd hide away their treasure of rice and corn and millet stored until they'd see better political weather. The British brought foods from far beyond, imports from distant lands. The concept of the bazaar in the Lushai Hills was new to Lushai man. But new goods meant new words, and new words felt foreign and strange. Sabite, sabte, golbasha, language began to shift and change. Soon the money economy bloomed, flourishing on its own, with tea, cucumbers, mangoes, and seeds never before sown. The government called upon our Nagaland brothers to come over and help teach fruit and insect cultivation to expand our agricultural reach. Wet rice fields in Zampai, the Muifang potato fields, the Mizo learned so much. And even though it was a lot to learn, it was just the surface they had touched. Our young men went to World War I to continents they could never imagine, sending mustard antram seeds in envelopes, sparking a Mizo-Euro fusion. And when missionaries entered the Lushai Hills, that was an entirely new story, while locals already mastered jungle foods from the fibrous to the thorny. Lorraine and Savage struggled to eat anything besides tinned cans of meat, but Edwin Rowland's Zosaptara, all the local food he'd eat. Our Pile Pute did their best to accommodate these men of great belief, and bestowed them bananas, eggs, bamboo as gifts usually reserved for the chief. Along with the British came another groundbreaking development. The arrival of salt to the Mizo palate was perhaps the greatest experiment. Salt became so prized and in demand, so much power did it hold. It was exchanged for prized possessions considered more valuable than gold. Salt paid for local labor, supplies, influence across the valleys. Our ancestors brought in grains, meats for exchange, the numbers too great to tally. But long before salt ever came, there was the mighty bamboo plant. For generations, this humble marvel held the power to enchant. It shaped architecture, agriculture, medicine, and more. Yet bamboo held a secret deeper than tradition could explore. For the bamboo in Mizoram sacrifices itself every 50 years or so. This once-in-a-generation event causes a siege of rat overflow. They eat away the harvest and destroy every good thing of the field. This Mautam famine decimated the lives of many with no shield. Our ancestors foraged roots, yams, leaves, whatever their hands could seize, battling famine with ingenuity beyond what our generation could believe. So profoundly did bamboo shape the course of our history. The Mautam of 58 birthed zoopolitics to ease the misery. To answer to the deaths and famine born of failed authority, bamboo taught us Mizo how to fight for food security. Which leads us to today. We have never been more at leisure to experience and enjoy and celebrate food with pleasure. For food is more than sustenance. For the Mizo, it is social therapy. It unveils strength, creativity, and resilience. It is our ancestral legacy.